Let us begin today's Daily Preach. Holla ballers! My camera's moved. Oh, fail! Ah, it'll do. I haven't put my chair up. There we go. Oh, I have to use this chair slightly differently than where I normally sit. That is really, really annoying because I just forget the stupidest things before I start daily. Isn't it always the way? Oh, I've got a few things to discuss today. I was hoping to discuss the topics I left yesterday. I'm going to do that tomorrow and have a lot of questions answered tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be more of a question time. For a number of reasons, I decided to change today's daily. I was thinking about it this afternoon. I was doing various things. I was playing some Minecraft, which is really addictive. It's stupidly addictive. And I was doing the final Paladin videos, like the final edit on those. I had to think of a good way to make it entertaining, and that was struggling with that. But luckily, with a little bit of Ghosty help and his informative knowledge, he managed to put me in a direction that kind of helped me out. So I kind of got those done, so I'm going to upload those immediately after the daily. It's also extremely dark. I warned of this yesterday. It's getting so dark because we've moved our clocks, and I have to move the daily. It has to change times. It's just so stupidly dark right now, and I have to walk my dog. It's just the way it is. It's got to happen. So all good things. So I said yesterday today would be a question time. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I had some topics to hit today. One of the things I wanted to do for you guys today is pre-warn you of a very big topic we're going to cover on Thursday. On Friday, of course, is Drama Llama Stories. So any interesting drama or anything, past, present, or future, get them sent in to me if they're funny, interesting. Write me a tale, write me a story. I want to know about you guys and what has happened to you guys so we can talk about it and look back on it and laugh. At the time, it might have seemed very, very upsetting. But let's look back on it and laugh together. I started a little controversy on Saturday or maybe Friday while I was doing the Paladin videos. It's taken me like 4 days to do the Paladin videos. That says a lot, doesn't it? That says a lot. I can usually bash out those videos relatively quickly. They're not the easiest content to create. I could do them very easily. I could literally record them, slap them in a video, and just release them. That's what I did around about patch 4.1, 12 months ago, when I started doing this as a hobby. But now, obviously, this is full-time, and I want people to be entertained and enjoy my content. So I put in a lot more effort to make them doable. But 4 days? That seems rather bizarre. I also released a video complaining about Paladins. Yes, I did. And complaining about Paladins was something I felt was the right thing to do. Not an expert Paladin by any means. I was a main Paladin long ago during the Burning Crusade. But I'm capable. One of the reasons people follow my channels is I'm very aware of the game. And I can pick up a class rather quickly and certainly recognize its faults. I'm not always going to be 100% accurate, but I'll be pretty close to the mark. If I've got a gut feeling about something, it tends to be pretty much right. So, I received an email today. Excuse me. I received an email today saying, your Paladin video. I agree. I'm a long-term Paladin. I have been a Paladin since vanilla. It's the first time ever I've really considered re-rolling. However, in your unusual situation, you didn't exactly suggest many solutions, which I usually do. I raise a problem and raise a theoretical solution. You did mention Holy Wrath becoming an AoE finisher for prop Paladins. That was a cool idea. We like that. But you didn't suggest anything else for Ret or for Holy. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. The topic for Thursday. Mr. Pandaria is hurting. It's hurting badly. It's hurting quite a lot. We've all felt the pinch. I think anybody in this chat right now, there's a lot of you here, would agree that we've all felt the pinch a little bit in Mr. Pandaria over can we be asked playing, which is unusual. It's a brand new expansion. It's only been out a month or so. And why are we feeling that pinch? That's the topic for Thursday. It's going to be almost a follow-on from the problem in the mists. It might even deserve its own video in its own right to sort of explore fully my thoughts on this. But on Thursday, we're going to be discussing this with you guys. It's going to be more of an open forum. So I try and recommend that you log into the live show. I'm going to be talking a lot to you guys about opinions, ideas, and trying to get a whole range of people answering. There's every type of person who plays WoW watches my channel. From the best players in the world to the worst. They all like to check in. Some people like to check their own class and mock me in some way, or to find some ridiculous comment to make, like, oh, you missed an aim shot at 14 minutes. Oh, you suck. I think that was one of the comments I had in a previous video. But I would certainly love to get an open forum going, and then I'm going to kind of collate that and probably do a video which is not supposed to ride on the back of the Mists of Pandaria problem in the Mists video, but more to address what we expected and what we got. Okay, because Mists of Pandaria is hurting. As everybody who's a member of Stark will know, that Ghost is taking an official break. He just wants to take a break from the game. He's not inspired to play it. I felt that way myself. I haven't logged my main character got hacked on Friday, I believe. I really didn't care. For two reasons. One, I knew that I would get everything back within a couple of hours, and I did. It was no problem whatsoever. I was like, oh, I got hacked. That was my feeling on it. I was like, I don't care. I didn't care. I will get everything back in a couple of hours. And I did. Coincidentally enough, I got hacked pretty quickly after my UI video was released. Yeah. So thank you for whoever that was. But it was no problem. My care box was completely empty. I was like, sent an email to Blizzard. Got an email back in like 20 minutes saying, yeah, do this. Okay, we've locked your account to check. Yeah, you got hacked. Here's all your shit back. So it was about 20 minutes of my life over a 2-hour period where I had to do something about it. It was nothing. And the other aspect was I'm not playing my main character at the moment. And I don't have much drive to do that. I'm playing other people's characters in order to generate the content that you guys are here to see, which is the guides and all that kind of stuff. So I was okay with that. At the time, I watched myself get hacked, which was interesting. I was on another player's character. I was on Untitled. I was doing the Paladin videos on Friday. That's what it was. And I saw my characters log in, and I was like, I'm being hacked, motherfucker. And I didn't even stop filming. I just carried on. I was like, I'm getting hacked, whatever. I'm not fucking bothered. And off I went to get it fixed. So it's no big deal at all. So why are we feeling that way? World of Warcraft is probably still the best game on the planet. But people are dropping out. It's bleeding players. I think we will see something very interesting when we see our next sales figures of Mists of Pandaria and subscriber base. I would estimate we are definitely well below 10 million now. I would imagine a lot of people have dropped out. A lot of people. And I think we should discuss why. Perhaps we could do something to help the guys along. So Thursday, big video. I will keep the daily at the same time for the next couple of days. Probably till the end of the week. I will keep the daily at the same time, and on Friday I will decide what time the daily will be. It's either going to be later or earlier. I kind of think it might be 1 hour later, allowing me to kind of go out now and walk the dog and come back and be fresh and ready to go. I think that might make sense. Okay, so let's get on to the Paladin. What's the strengths of the Paladin? A Paladin is one of the most unique buff classes in the game. It's very difficult for us to say any other class that can match a Paladin for its usefulness. There's various places where other classes are more useful, but those are situational at best. Having Paladins is generally always a good thing. We can get away without things like Tricks of the Trade, Misdirect. Perhaps on most fights we can get away with things like Gorfine's Grasp, not Will of the Emperor, you know, but they're always good. Always. It's always good to have Paladins there. Nobody else can cope with the awesomeness of a Blessing of Protection or Hand of Protection. No one can cope with that. A Hand of Freedom, nobody can cope with that. It's just better, it's good. And it puts control in other players' hands. I have never really had to macro an ability before that whispered another player. There are only 2 times I've ever had to do that. One was on Sartharian 3 Drakes, where I had a macro that would whisper the priest to tell them to give me Guardian Spirit. I needed it so fast that a macro was realistically the only way of doing it. Literally, Ventrilo lag could cause me to die. Therefore, I needed to macro it into my bars. The other time has always been Paladins. Whispering for, I think, Halphus Wormbreaker Heroic 10-man in its original state. Was one of those times. I had to whisper for a Hand of Protection, and I had to macro into my abilities, Cancel Aura, Hand of Protection. I have also on occasion had to do things like Cancel Aura, Hand of Protection, Blessing of Salvation, and so on and so forth. I've had to macro those into my abilities. No other class can attest to me ever having to do that, despite all the world kills I've got. Never. Never have to do that. In all the rankings I've achieved, only the Paladin is been there for me, besides the one occasion I needed it from a priest. That was it. And that was only because the priest was unable to track the buffs on a mob as well. That was it. It was a priest who was unable to tell when I needed Guardian Spirit, therefore I had to macro it into my abilities. So the Paladin sits in a very unique situation, doesn't it? It sits in this place that is wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. And it's very unique, but something feels wrong with it. I received that email saying, what would your solutions be? It's quite easy to suggest things for Ret, such as cooldowns should be reduced in power, but allowed to line up better. Is there a need for 3 cooldowns? Can Guardian the Ancient Kings be rebalanced so it's on a 3-minute cooldown? Can't we just mix it into something else? Can't we just have Avenging Wrath? It's always nice to have 2 cooldowns. I would like to relate these to Warriors, which is Avatar and Recklessness, but let's maybe turn down Guardian the Ancient Kings a touch. Let's turn that down. It's not necessarily supposed to be that powerful. Recklessness is a brilliant buff, no doubt about it, but is anywhere near as powerful as Guardian the Ancient Kings? Not in the least. So we consider a DPS warrior to realistically have 1 main DPS cooldown, which would be Bladestorm, or no, Avatar, or something like Bloodbath, anything like that. Then we have our super hard hitting ability, like Bladestorm, or Dragon's Roar, or Execution Sentence. Something along those lines. Something that mixes quite nicely. Do we need Holy Avenger? It's nice in its situational usage when we need to blow things up. The problem is that they have to be balanced over the fact that people will blow Holy Avenger, and they will blow Avenging Wrath and Guardian the Ancient Kings, and pull a sustained 100 plus K DPS for an extended period of time, which is very difficult to balance out as gear upgrades. It's very, very difficult to make that work. And the class can only suffer because of that. Everything else has to be turned down because you're capable of this explosive moment. DPS numbers can become very, very skewed and crazy if we can just sustain that huge amount of burst. That would be really stupid. So everything else has to be turned down. Target switching for Paladins is broken. Censure is a brilliant idea. One problem that Paladins had in PvP was they were blowing people up. So Censure came into the game, a stacking dot, which makes target switching a little bit annoying and causes then AoE to become annoying as well. We either choose to drop Censure or we decide to use Seal of the Righteousness. But we need to have a breaking point then of where Censure outweighs Seal of the Righteousness across a lot of mobs, which is just confusing to a new player. In fact, most good players don't know the math exactly. They look to somebody like myself to say, if it's 6 mobs, you're going to win. Good, I'm happy with that. Why is that? Most people don't understand why that is the case. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's an AoE seal, I'm AoEing. Why am I using the other seal? Well, it's because of your Censure mechanics are actually a very powerful source of DPS. Therefore, you need to keep them up. Keeping them up on a single target outweighs the extra damage you get from Seal of the Righteous. People don't really care about that. They don't understand it, and it becomes confusing and convoluted. And therefore, we're just like, ugh, I don't know what to do. Okay, 6 mobs, Seal of the Righteousness. They don't really know why. I hate it when we don't know why we are doing things. One of the things I really try to stress on people is you must understand why you are doing things. It's easy enough to watch my guide and say, okay, to AoE, you want about 6 mobs, you're going to switch your seal. And people go, okay, but they don't realistically know why that's going to happen. Which is interesting, confusing, frustrating, and kind of broken, really. We should just be going into an AoE situation. If I was a Ret Paladin, or a Ret Paladin designer, or a designer focused on Ret Paladins, I think they need a serious rework. I think a lot of their abilities need changing. I would like to see target switching become more viable. There was nothing more annoying in Cataclysm raids when people were assigned to do different things, and the Ret Paladins would instantly go, ugh, can I just stay on the one boss? Why? Target switching sucks for me. For a Ret Paladin, target switching sucks balls. I don't want to do that. And people are like, it's not that bad, surely. You know, it really is. Ret Paladins complained all the time about having to target switch. Take a boss like Morchok on Heroic, who spawns Orcon. Switching target on him for Ret Paladins, they hated it. Absolutely hated it. They would complain endlessly if one of them was assigned to change target. Understandably so, it seriously hurts their DPS. And nobody likes to suffer from DPS. So for the Ret Paladin, I think there's a sort of confusion into what the Ret Paladin should be, especially with the Holy Power mechanic. Holy Power is an interesting idea. that was brought in Cataclysm. It's an interesting idea, but then it's kind of like Paladin's more towards a rogue style of play. I mean, it can't be like a warrior because they have mana. They can just use their abilities on cooldown. So it can't be like that. So is it more like a rogue now? We're building up combo points. Am I pooling energy in terms of holy power? It's an awkward mishmash of abilities that hasn't really paid off. And then we combine in the fact that we have so many different spells that are differently effective depending on our situation, that it becomes even more convoluted again. Some people described in my Paladin complaint video, where I discussed the problems of the Paladin, that, oh, Ret takes skill now. Ret doesn't take skill, in the least. Ret doesn't take skill whatsoever. And I can only assume the skill involved is counting how many mobs are in front of you. If you believe that skill, if you can count to 6 or not, you're probably better off playing a different game, or confusing your actual skill level. There is no skill level involved in counting from 1 to 6. Okay? Most of us can do that from a very young age. That is not a skill level, unfortunately. I would suggest Rets should move more towards a DK style of play. I think Censure should be similar to diseases. And I kind of just want them to feel good. It might be something as simple as we discussed yesterday as changing their sound effects. If Templar's Verdict sounded cool, people would be more inclined to stick with their Ret Paladins. But I have a lot of emails. A lot of people are the one vocal minority saying, my Ret Paladin wins, I love it. I'm really happy for you. I have 70 emails, all telling me about people who have re-rolled or are thinking of re-rolling away, okay? Those of you in love with the Ret Paladin, great. It's not the general feeling as far as I can tell. From the people who watch my stuff anyway, of over 20,000 people, the people who play Ret Paladins are disagreeing with you. On to the prop Paladin before I touch on Holy. What would I do with the prop Paladin? I would... The Holy Wrath idea is one way of thinking of it. I think if you want to stick a class with different spells that affect different things. So you have AoE spells and you have single target spells, and a number of them, they need to work similarly. But I think that entire basic system is fucking broken. Having duplicative spells that do different things is always going to be boring. Because you ultimately end up smashing your face on whatever is not on cooldown. A prop Paladin could do pretty good, effective stuff by just pressing whatever is not on cooldown. That's broken. It's boring. Let's compare it to a warrior. Shield Slam, Shield of the Righteous. However, Shield of the Righteous is also a defensive cooldown. Prop Paladins are active mitigation, kind of. So we've got this Shield Slam, Shield of the Righteous. Thunderclap, Consecration. That marries up nicely. Where does Holy Wrath come in? Holy Wrath is single target, but it's also AoE. And we discussed this, I posted in the video, is the tooltip between Holy Wrath and Arcane Explosion, for example, are very, very similar. Almost identical. You would have to really know the game at first glance to tell there was a difference. Avenger's Shield. Avenger's Shield is a wonderful, unique ability that is very, very nice for prop Paladins. And I like that. It gives it its unique feel of doing this lovely, holy shield stuff. I love that aspect. And then we move into Crusader Strike. Devastate kind of marries up. And then we can start to see how these things work out. But let's then look at a warrior when it's AoEing. What changes for a warrior when it's AoEing? It doesn't really add cleaving. Not anymore. Cleave's really weak. Nothing much changes. We just add Thunderclaps to the rotation. And that makes sense because Thunderclaps and AoE. That's it. That's how it changes. For a prop Paladin, nothing changes. Nothing changes whatsoever. You're still doing the same abilities. And at a certain amount of mobs, you're going to start switching your main filler ability. It'd be like changing Devastate to Devastate Plus. That's weird. But prop Paladins work along the basis of having finishers that they pool combo points from. It feels awkward and clumsy that our finisher for prop Paladin AoE is a single target ability. That's weird. It doesn't make sense. It's just illogical that our build-up of AoEing to generate a finisher is a single target finisher. That just feels wrong. It just doesn't feel correct. And I know people will look for what to do with Holy Power when they're AoEing. Inquisition was a nice ability. And working on the basis of should we do more damage or should we be more defensive, a return of Inquisition or making Holy Wrath a decent finisher would be wonderful in my opinion. Do I need to use my Shield of the Righteous here to generate more defensive ability, or can I use Inquisition to push my damage even further? I would keep it as an AoE finisher. I really would. Am I pulled too much AoE? Okay, I need my Shield of the Righteous. Now Shield of the Righteous feels like a defensive ability. Right now, Shield of the Righteousness is passively generating you defensive ability. It doesn't even feel like that. It does 100k plus damage. It feels like a big heavy hitting ability. Most people don't care that it's doing this defensive ability. They're using it passively. That's not what active mitigation is all about, as much as you call it that. Active mitigation is about deciding on what we want to do. Do I use shield barrier here, or do I use my nice big heroic strike or something like that? That's active mitigation. I'm making a decision. Paladins don't do that. They just have Shield of the Righteousness. They just have the same thing. It's no different either way. However, if we had the choice of Inquisition or Shield of the Righteous, then we get some choice. Then we get a feel for what we're doing. Oh, I could Inquisition here and do a ton more damage. I can easily out DPS this trash. I'm not in danger of dying. I have cooldowns. Okay, now I can use my Inquisition. Am I need to defensive? What's my defensive regular cooldown here? Oh, it's Shield of the Righteous. Okay, I'll let my damage suffer to be more safe. That's more like it. That's a good feel for it. We could even do that with Holy Wrath. Increases your damage over a period of time and does AoE damage finisher. We could mix those together to give us a choice and then reduce one spell away from the single target rotation. See what I'm saying? I think that works very, very nicely. I think that's pretty cool. Moving on to Holy. I left Holy till last on purpose. I think we need to talk about healing. This might be controversial for some, and I can't say I've got a great solution for this. It feels like healers are in this immense rush to get as spammy as possible as soon as possible. Does that make sense? You with me? Okay. Healers start the game in shit gear, and then they gear as quickly as humanly possible so they can spam their abilities. You need more spirit to spam more. More spirit, more spirit, more spirit. It feels that way for a lot of things. And I spoke to a guy this morning, and I asked him what he felt about that. He said, I don't really feel like I'm doing that, but now that you say it, I kind of am doing that, but passively. I'm doing that because I'm running out of mana. And I said, well, why are you running out of mana? And he said, well, I'm running out of mana because I need to keep the raid alive. I need to be able to use more abilities more regularly. I'm like, okay. So, do you feel like once you can essentially spam the raid pretty effectively without running out of mana, then you'll have enough spirit? He was like, well, yeah. So, do you see what I'm saying? How it feels like you're rushing to get to a time when you can just spam your abilities throughout the course of a fight, maybe over 10 minutes or 7 minutes or however long it could be. So I can see it that way. I don't feel like I'm doing that. I feel like I'm running out of mana, ergo I need more spirit. And I'm running out of mana because I need to spam the raid. It's kind of backwards way of thinking. It's almost like I'm doing this without really realizing I'm doing it. I'm sort of rushing, I'm trying to gear my character so I can spam my abilities throughout the fight and have enough mana to do that. And once I've done that, I will just buff my healing spells. Okay. Kind of makes sense, right? Is it any different than going for a hit and expertise cap? Not really. Not really. So in the chat is talking about overhealing. I am very, very rarely in top guilds ever seen anybody particularly care about overhealing for a long, long time. The raid's alive, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Most good healers know when to spam their abilities and when not. So overhealing isn't much of an issue. What they need to do is ensure they have enough mana to get all their abilities out on a pretty regular basis. So, one of the issues I find with healing right now, again, I haven't raid healed properly for a long time. But one of the issues I see when I talk to healers and speak to people doing this, and of course play them myself for whatever reason, is that they all feel kind of samey. And over the course of the last few years, WoW has been trying to homogenize as many classes as possible. I don't think healers suit that playstyle. And I think that kind of negates part of the powerfulness and interest in healing. And let me expand on that a little bit. This is going to get kind of awkward for me to explain, but I'm trying to get you to understand my train of thought here. There is not many spells in every healer. This is a good way of saying it. Let me think about this. In Cataclysm, every healer had the 3 basic spells that were almost identical. Your cheap low healing heal, your cheap long cast big heal, and your expensive fast emergency heal. They all had the same thing. They all had it. Then they had a couple of things mixed in, and then they had something that was AoE healing. So now we have Circle of Healing. Not Circle of Healing. Power Word Sanctuary. Healing Rain. Efflorescence. Light's Hammer. All doing essentially the same job. Monks are no different with their jumping hots and their spinning crane kick. They can position themselves in such a way to create a nice little area of healing. So the healers don't feel, besides their cooldowns, too different. And the uniqueness comes from their cooldowns. So they're all in a race, in my theory, in my head. In a race to get as much time to spam their big, powerful healing all the time. As much as possible. So I can just heal, 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 heal. Does that sound interesting to you? Not to me. It doesn't. It's okay. That's kind of the way the game is. And most people accept it. Like I said, when I spoke to some people this morning, I've been playing other games all day. I didn't do as much research as I'd like to on this topic, but I spoke to who I could. And they felt kind of like what I was saying was right, but they hadn't realised it. Yeah, we just spam AoE healing when we need to do AoE healing, or if the tank takes heavy damage, we all kind of spam single target heals. We do some healing assignments, but if obviously if someone's going to die, we all jump all over that and try to rescue that situation. You're not in a situation anymore where you cannot afford to stop doing what you're doing in order to help that guy out. Blizzard's counter to this has been an increased fashion of dealing with some DPS. Dealing DPS as a healer. Some cooldowns that affect that. Doing something to get mana back. Be it whatever it should be. Spamming Denounce and just helping out with damage in periods of downtime should you not need any mana. Most healers I know, which is a lot of healers. A lot of healers. Most healers I know don't want to do DPS. They don't really want to do that. DPSing as a healer is traditionally seen as something you do when it's about to fucking wipe. Okay, you're about to wipe, the bosses are 1%, then we do damage because we have to. The addition of DPS to a healing situation in periods of downtime isn't exactly something they wanted to do. They don't want to be thinking about adding damage, really. So what do we fix? Is this a problem in the first place? Some people don't think so. They're quite happy with what they're doing. But I'm trying to think of a way that would make that more fun. And I think the homogenization of the healers has kind of made it into a samey kind of playstyle. There's some unique differences amongst them, don't get me wrong. There's some various cooldowns, all the abilities work in slightly different ways, but in essence they're all the same sort of thing. It used to be that people were really powerful at certain kinds of things. Paladins were solid single target tank heals. That was their only job, and it was boring, okay? Beacon of Light, we spam Holy Light endlessly till the end of the fight. I can macro that shit in, and it's fucking boring. Resto Druids, just AoE healers. Shamans sucking balls until suddenly they became very powerful. And it didn't really work. And having niche healing abilities was actually very, very counterproductive. If we look at the Sunwell, 5 Resto Shamans. Chain Heal is so powerful that we want to bring as many Resto Shamans as humanly possible just because of the niche ability of that class. That class's unique ability to heal the raid endlessly is so powerful that we want to make best use of that. So now we're in a situation where they said, well, we can't have people bringing 5 Resto Shamans to raids. We can't have Holy Paladins just healing the tank. We can't do that. It doesn't really work. It's not fun for the players. So let's give them the ability. Holy Paladins need AoE healing. Well, now they're very, very good at AoE healing. Shamans need other various things to do. We gave them that. Their other heals are incredibly powerful and very, very superb. Resto Druids need more single target healing. We gave them that. In trying to fix each of the healers to make them able to be multi-active and a lot better resource to their raids, they all kind of fell into the same pattern. There's only so far you can go with giving the single target healers AoE healing, the AoE healing single target heals, until they're pretty much similar. There isn't that much variation on healing that can exist. Renewing Mist is possibly the newest mechanic we've seen, which is still a smart heal that jumps around. It's still similar to a Shane heal, but it's a hot. It still jumps around, and it's still a smart heal. We have seen that mechanic before. A slightly different twist on it, to be sure, but still very, very powerful. So how do we make healing interesting? DPS is the wrong way to go. Most healers do not want to be DPSing. If they wanted to be DPSing, they wouldn't be healing. A lot of them want to chill and heal. But they also want some fun thrown into their game. I asked the question on the healing week we did just before Mr. Pandarius, what boss are you especially looking forward to? Not many. What makes healing fun for you? It's just keeping the raid alive is pretty fun. Which bosses are you worried about? None, not really. They're all reasonably the same. And in that respect, there's heavy AoE healing, heavy single target healing, and nothing much in between. Nothing much in between. In fact, the in-between period seems to just be down phases to regenerate mana. So now we've got healers trying to get spammy as possible, and all pretty much doing the same job. And essentially it comes down to healing output. Mistweavers do a lot more. Let's bring more Mistweavers. Disc Priests don't do shit. Let's not bring those. And that's it. There's nothing fun going on there. How do we fix that? Healing needs to be a remodeled idea. I kind of been thinking about this most of the day, actually. While I was being totally distracted by other things, I was thinking about healing. That's how I spend my days. I'm just kind of like, what should we do about healing today? I was like, is there even a problem with healing? I don't know. I kind of feel when I get this idea when I play any healing class, I look for the bindings, right? The bindings are the biggest clue. Where's my AoE ground heal? That's on C. So Healing Rain, Powered Sanctuary, fucking Lights Hammer, Efflorescence, or Swift Mend, got it, all go on C, because they all do the same job. So they all just go on the same key binding, very much as I do with some DPSs. Where's my interrupts? Where's my slow single target heal? That goes on there. Where's my big heal? That goes on there. And the only time I didn't feel like that was the Monk. And I think the Monk's one of the classes that's got it right. Because a Monk, although it has similar kind of abilities, does them in a unique fashion in pretty much every single sense. And I think the current healing classes and the current healing design could learn a lot from what they did with the Monk. And it also indicates to me that Blizzard is aware that this might become a major problem. That all the other healers are pretty much the same, but just varying outputs. Because the Monk is fantastic. It's a wonderfully designed class. They don't have this 3 heals. They don't even have it. The rest of the classes still do. They don't have that. But they need to be aware of other things in the fight. Such as, are they channeling Soothing Mist? Because that changes their entire gameplay if they're not doing that. It's a simple change. Very, very simple. But it makes the class so much more fun. You have a decision process going on that isn't, should I press Circle of Healing here or heal? Should I press Prayer of Mending or Greater Heal? Not something as simple. That is not a choice. It's not. It's boring as crap. It is a choice, I know, word for word, but it's not engaging. If we're moving as a monk, we need to think, what are we doing while we're moving? As a priest, you're kind of pressing Prayer of Mending, or maybe you're throwing a shield or something. Kind of boring. If I'm a Resto Shaman, I'm just making sure I can Spirit Walk and cast some heals on the way. Which is all very well and good. But it's not unique, it's not interesting, it's kind of like, I have to do that. As a monk, I can do a million things while I'm moving. I can do all sorts of crazy shit. Should I roll here? Should I spinning crane kick through the people? Should I do this? Should I throw some renewing mist? Should I blow a cooldown? Maybe I can move here, or cheat torpedo over there and do something else. Or various other things, options to go on. When I'm single target healing, I have a million options with what to do. I like that the monks build up an ability. Should I AoE heal here? Or should I single target heal? Or should I do this? Or should I do that? Or maybe I should drop some healing spheres. Should I drink some mana tea right now? And the mana tea mechanic is fucking beautifully designed. Constantly building up. One of the most annoying things I found on low geared healers while looking for raid is waiting for my mana cooldown to come back. And I'm always saying in my guides, use Tranquility at this percentage, use this ability at this percentage, use Divine Plea when you can. With the monk, I have a wonderful, wonderful ability to decide I need to keep healing here. but I can get it back later, and it won't make me suffer. I still get the same amount of mana back as if I cast it now and cast it later on. By building up Mana Tea charges, I can decide that process. I get that choice. Do I have time right now to drink my Mana Tea? No, I don't. I can keep healing, and then I can work it back in later, but I'm not going to suffer for doing that. That's not going to hurt me. Whereas if I delay a Divine Plea and go too low on my mana, I'm in a bad fucking state if I need to keep healing. Perhaps I now need to Divine Plea during a period that I really, really don't want to, because I won't get it back. Do you understand? It's just, I suffer from not just following this arbitrary rule. I should Tranquility now so I can have it again later. I don't even feel like I need it now, but I have to do it now so I can have it later on. That's not fun. With a mechanic like Mana Tea, we decide when we're going to do it, and we don't hurt for doing that. It doesn't become an arbitrary choice. It's not a choice for the sake of having to do it. It's not something I build in, oh, my mana bar's at 80%, I'll Tranquility. That's just, not Tranquility, Innovate. And that's, you know, that kind of process is not difficult, it's not challenging, it's not engaging. Whereas Mana Tea, a simple change like that, deciding when you get your mana back. I'm not saying that everybody should get charges now, like your Innovate becomes more powerful the longer you leave it. But the monk has so many unique attributes to it that the other healers are craving. Absolutely craving to make their class more enjoyable. I think Blizzard was pretty happy with where healers fell off towards Cataclysm. They felt pretty good. In fact, most healers didn't get many changes at all. They didn't get many changes whatsoever. They got hardly anything. Restorator's got mushrooms. Got a slight change to chakra for holy. Nothing major. Nothing big. Disc got fucked. Unfortunate for you. Unfortunate for you. So it's all this I just think healing is suffering right now, and I don't like that. I think healing could use a lot more. It's just from playing myself, okay? So it's purely based on playing myself and just realizing when I'm doing my guides and doing my content for you guys, I'm almost playing the same class every single time. And I'm binding them all to the same thing. And I jump in a raid and I'm either AoE healing or I'm waiting to AoE heal and just topping the tank off. And it's kind of like, it feels lackluster. I want something to be doing with my character. I think healers suffer from this homogenization of all the other classes and have fallen into the trap where they maybe didn't need it. One solution to this, as we like to discuss, there are various solutions to this. One solution is push them back towards a niche sort of place. It's a very, very dangerous road to tread. I'm aware of that. Because Blizzard tends to go, ugh, and hammer it down. And that would be really fucking bad to do that, okay? I'm talking about pushing them slightly towards niche things. Do every healing class need a ground AoE heal? Do we need that? Probably not. I would say definitely not. And people will go, but we only have 4 Resto Shamans in our guild and nothing else. So what would we do? That's because you've got a bad fucking guild. That's because you bad fucking guild, okay? You should have a combination of healers. And the way to do this is pretty easy. And it wouldn't push them into being unable to do anything. The talent system is the way to achieve this. And the Holy Paladin is almost there. It's almost there. The Holy Paladin has a choice between a big single target heal and Light's Hammer, a nice AoE heal. And by doing that, we can specifically tailor our character to do various things. Uno momento. Join me, my wonderful, wonderful lady. Hello. What?
He's at a razor blade.
He's at a razor blade? Did you eat from where? From the kitchen? Bathroom?
I don't know.
You didn't eat it before anyway. Alright, I'll finish up the show and I'll join you.
You'll have to because I've got to go out.
Okay. Take him with you. Okay, so that is the topic for tomorrow. A few ideas there. A few ideas. Not going to be very popular, I'm sure. But I think, on summary, I think the talent system for healers could be very much revamped to design your character around what your role is in the raid. So, Resto Shaman talents that push them towards more of a single target role, but suffer in the AoE healing department, where the other healer should push himself towards AoE and counterbalance that. And then we have this aspect in raids of 5 healers or 6 healers, where how many single target healers do we need in this fight? How many AoE healers do we need? How many people with a combination of both to help top each other off? And therefore they don't have to be pigeonholed into it. What we don't want is, oh, Resto Druids are just AoE healers. Oh, Holy Paladins are just single target healers. We don't want that. Sometimes the Holy Paladins, Light's Hammer and things like that are actually going to be more beneficial than the other heals. Cascade for the Priest is really powerful here. But in the next fight, we don't need that. We need soft topping up AoE heals where Resto Druids come in. And that choice to diversify is what's lacking from the Priest, the healers at the moment. I feel with DPS, we are always making that choice. In near enough every single video about a DPSer, I have said, what are you doing in this fight? Tailor your character to do that. Healers don't really have that choice. Some do, barely, but it's not a magnificent thing. It's just which one heals far more. Do you understand? It's a convoluted way of getting there, I know. Okay, I'm going to leave you today. And tomorrow is going to be question time. And Thursday, big topic about Mr. Pandaria, okay? So, take it easy. Have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Alright, balls?